This is Between the Lines. I'm Tatum Everett alongside Ben Leber, and the Vikings are now undefeated and continue to be undefeated in London as they beat the Browns 21-17. Ben, that was an exciting up and down game. All capped off by that great game-winning drive led by Carson Wentz. It was 10 plays, 80 yards to take the lead. What were your impressions of that drive?
You know, there was a thought in my mind that we kept going to Justin Jefferson throughout the whole game. I'm like, well, it's great. I mean, he is our best receiver and one of the best players in the whole league, so I get it. But I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, we're getting Hawkinson involved a little bit there. He had that nice little middle of the field throw to kind of get us down there. But I'm like, somebody else is going to have to make a play. Because if I'm the Browns, I'm taking Justin Jefferson away in this situation. And obviously, you know, KOC being such a great play caller, he obviously understood that too. They get Addison out there in a one-on-one situation with a little separation. It was a great throw, great finish, and I was standing right there for the celebration. It was great.
Okay, very cool. I mean, what was it?
Jacked up. Everyone was jacked up. I think I was recording the thing, and then I was like in the recorder. I'm like, I think I said like, he did it, maybe. He did it. And then Carson comes running over, and he like gives a big like Tiger Woods fist pump. Yeah, it was really fun.
I love that. No, I mean, speaking of Wentz, he had a questionable designation at one point in the game, comes back in the second half, and sticks all the way through. What impressed you the most about just his gumption, the ability to stay in there?
I mean, I'm only speculating here, but I'm guessing that he went out with that shoulder because of how physical he was running the football. Whenever he felt like he had to scramble, he wasn't sliding. I don't think I saw him slide one time. No. I mean, he was playing the role of running back. He was both shoulders going forward, trying to take out whatever defender that he could and try to get some extra yards. So I think the guys on the team just appreciate his physicality and just wanting to be a football player, and that there is a fine line. I'm sure that a lot of the offensive coaches were like, easy, dude. We don't need to lose you just because you want to play a little hero ball and get an extra yard or two. But I appreciate it. A lot of those runs were, you know, sort of like third down, got a habits, and he was right at the sticks, and he's just trying to get that first down. So I think the physical play, the way that he's able to step up in the pocket, the way that he just commands the huddle. And again, there's no flinch out of him at all, even when he's playing with an offensive line that has 4 rotational backup players in there. And he never looked a different direction. He never got happy feet. He never saw ghosts. He played fantastic.
Let's talk about that O-line, because that was something that you come in, you have 4 O-line on the inactive list.
Yeah.
So you're playing with a lot of your backups, guys like Joe Huber, who got his first start today. Blake Brandale, who got his first start at center in the NFL today. They played the entire game. They allowed no sacks in the first half. A couple there in the second half, I think 3 in the second half. But they were able to put together drives and really hang in there. What does that say about their ability to just keep fighting?
Well, it also speaks volumes to Chris Cooper and his staff, the offensive line coach, and what they're able to do. You know, getting these guys ready not only to play a position that they think they're going to play at the start of the season, but having the flexibility and the versatility to move around. And you know, I know Huber had a penalty in there. I think he gave up one of the sacks that you're talking about, but I thought he played really well in his first. This is probably the best defensive front 4 in the league.
Best run defense, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. But you know, when it comes to just the front 4, those guys might be the best in the league, and they're truly thrown into the fire. I thought I saw a lot of good things out of all of them. It sounds like Darisaw, even though he played most of the game, was going to be on an intentional pitch count. And so, you know, Rouse was ready to go in there. They didn't miss a beat with him. I didn't see a ton of, you know, having to chip the guys on the edges. I didn't think that we had to really, you know, put a lot of fullbacks in the middle, and we didn't see Josh Oliver trying to scanning and taking care of some of the blocking scheme. They really trusted those guys up front. Of course, there was some mistakes to be made, but that's a really good front that they're playing. Those guys get paid too. But when it mattered, in that last drive, Carson was clean, he was protected, and he was confident.
You mentioned Josh Oliver there, and that was a interesting way to start the game. We had Cam Akers, one of the running backs, throw the first touchdown of the game for the Vikings to Josh Oliver. It was the first non-QB touchdown for the Vikings since 2008.
Yeah.
Crazy. Third longest by a non-QB in team history. It was a 32-yarder. I wasn't expecting the Wildcat. I know that Kevin's got some trickery up his sleeve, but I wasn't expecting the Wildcat. When you saw that happen, like, what was your first reaction?
Well, I just thought the whole day it seemed like their staff kind of they relied on some creativity, not so much like trick plays, but we saw a tackle over situation when Darrisaw goes from left tackle. He goes and lines up in the tight end spot on the right side. We saw the counter flip play. We saw jet sweep. You know, we saw middle screens, which we don't always do, at least the setup of some of these things. So I really think the whole idea was to keep the defense guessing the whole time.
Yeah.
And then, yes, as a defensive player, you see Wildcat, certain things go through your head, and it's almost instinctual to think a little faster, to think, okay, this is going to be a very obvious run. This is going to be some sort of like, you know, Wildcat power play. Watch the pulling guards. I got to get downhill. And the ability for that direct snap and to him to get outside just, 3 or 4 steps, that's all you really need. Because as a defensive player, you're thinking downhill, 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 and that's why the play works.
And so they kind of just bite on it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a play action without being a play action.
Okay.
And it worked beautifully.
Let's talk about the defense a little bit, because without their ability to stop the explosive play in this game, the victory may not have been there. It was touch and go for a while, but despite that first, touchdown in the game, they had a clean sheet. They were able to force 3 and outs. They were able to force them to punt, put them in a field position battle. What did you make of their ability to keep this Vikings team in the game?
Well, it really was like a bend but don't break. I mean, they had a bunch of chunk runs. I'm sure, the run game absolutely has to be figured out, and I know it's going to be addressed during the bye week. But that was another issue that popped up today, and they even had a big one called back because of their own holding call. So we were a little bit leaky, but when it mattered in the red zone, we stepped up. We were controlling the line of scrimmage when it mattered, and they got inside the 20. So again, I think in the critical moments, we were just better than they were.
At what point were you like, this team will be able to pull this off? The whole time?
No, not really. I'd like to say that I had faith the whole time. But I also knew how good of a defense we were facing. I certainly didn't expect us to be so surgical on that last drive. And, it was a thing of beauty. And the way that we were able to kind of counter some of what they were doing, thinking that we were just going to try to get out of bounds. And I referenced that Hawkinson pass over the middle. Those are the unconventional thoughts that have to go through your head of like, if we have enough time to get up, get on the football, if that ball's completed, then we kind of steal it down a little bit and we steal some yardage because everybody thinks that we have to get out of bounds and try to stop the clock. So I thought it was very smart. They executed well, but I got to be honest, Tatum, like I can't say that I was like, well, we're absolutely going to win this game, because it was just such a slog for three and a half quarters.
And when you think about the ability to overcome 2 turnovers, a negative 2 turnover margin, plus the 7 penalties, when you were in the locker room speaking to those players, what were their conversations like after being able to pull off the win, knowing the odds were stacked against them?
I think they just keep talking about character and resilience. And they never batted an eye. They know that what they've built here, and they know the type of players that they have here, and they're like, they're not losing faith until I think Jonathan Gennard told me, he's like, I don't lose faith until I see all zeros on the clock, because I know what type of team we have. I know the guys that can make plays, and I know the coaching staff that we have. So, I obviously a very happy, celebratory locker room. They understand that penalties have to get cleaned up. They understand defensively they got to do a better job of stopping the run, but so much praise to that offensive line. I mean, from both sides of the ball. So much praise to Jordan Addison to coming out and balling out the way he did, and Justin Jefferson. So, again, they know they have special players, and they're just waiting for all of them to make special plays in the right moments.
So these players now head into a bye week, Ben. And as a former player yourself, how do you attack bye week as a team who's 3-2 and still trying to find that consistency?
I think the biggest thing, and we've talked about this a lot as players, you have to be very raw and honest and brutally honest with yourself. The bye week is a time to physically get better, to really get your feet up in the air, to rehab, to get your body right for a long stretch of the season where you're not going to get a break, except for maybe these baby buys after the Thursday night games. But the point is, like, don't shy away from the things that you need to work on during the bye week. Every player, every group of players, the position groups, they're all doing good things. They're all doing bad things. You can't just focus on all the good things that you're doing. You really have to critically look at it, and it's hard. You really want your brain to shut down. You really want to be like, I want to take a break. But I would suggest in being there that I forced myself in the first couple of days, the 48 hours leading into the bye week. That's when I attacked that. I looked at everything critically because I wanted to enjoy the bye week. So I got sort of the dirty stuff out of the way early, and I didn't want that lingering later in the week.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Ben, for your insight. We have to wrap this between the lines up because we need to get back on the bus to take us to the airport so that we can get you at home in our beds really soon.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. Well, the Vikings are victors on their way back to America. We thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you not next week, but the next, when we're back at US Bank Stadium when the Vikings host the Eagles.